When I think of where I'm coming from, looking back at where the journey begun, I have to say that I'm strong, I'm strong. More praises to the Most High One. Hey, what's up? Welcome back to What Would Dr.S Say, or What Would Dr. Sebi Say? And today we're dealing with children and spaghetti. We know children love spaghetti. I love spaghetti. And we're going to be talking about spaghetti and making some spaghetti sauce. So we'll be right back with that. Alright guys, so we got the simplest form of spaghetti sauce here. Just to show you what's usually in spaghetti sauce, so that you understand that it's still important for you to make this spaghetti sauce at home as much as you can. Even though we think the spaghetti sauce is simple, they do have stuff in it that you really don't want. So this one here, which is the best one that I found on the shelf, is tomato puree, which is right, water, sugar, salt, soybean oil, garlic, celery, onions, carrots, spices, citric acid, and green bell peppers. So in our tomato sauce, we're not going to be putting any of, well, I'll let you know what we're going to be putting in, but things like soybean, like garlic, like celery, like carrots, like citric acid, that won't be in ours, right? And because we're thinking of the children, there's lots of ingredients in these things. I'm covering the cover because I don't want you to see what brand it is, because I'm not, I don't want to do that, right? I'm not going there. I'm just telling you what's in some of these products, right? Okay, so because of kids, there's lots of things that affect the children that we don't even understand. You know, let's just say that there's lots of things that affect the brain development, that affect the children's mental state, their emotional state. It affects how, how they sleep at night. It affects how they react in certain angry situations. Lots of things that we don't even understand how it works towards the developing brain. So with that, we try our best to make what we can at home so that we know what's going in these products. So we'll be right back to get started. Hey there, got my apron on. Thanks, Miss V, for my trusty What Would Dr. Sebi Say? Alright, so here we go. We got about 5 pounds of plum tomatoes. Right, about 5 pounds, I would say. 5 pounds of plum tomatoes. We've got 1 good size red onion. We got 1 good size sweet Vidalia onion. We have a teaspoon of salt. We have a teaspoon of oregano. And we have 2 teaspoons of onion powder in here. We have some thyme, and because it's about 5 pounds of the tomatoes, we're gonna put about 3 or 4 little bay leaves in there. You don't really need a lot of bay leaves, and you're gonna take it out before you blend it. And we're gonna need a blender. And we also have here some tomato paste. It's about, what would I say now? It's about maybe 4 or 5 tablespoons. This is about 4 or 5 tablespoons, maybe. Yeah, maybe 4 or 5 tablespoons of tomato paste. And it's tomato paste that I made. I have to show you in another video of how I make the tomato paste, right? Or you could either use tomato paste, or you could also use sea moss, because the sea moss helps to thicken it. It won't make it as red as we might want it to be, but it'll thicken it. And you want your tomato sauce to be a little thick, And the tomato paste helps it to get a little thicker, but the sea moss also helps it to make it thick, but it might not be as deep red as what we remember tomato sauce is. But I mean, it's still tomato sauce, right? All right, so we'll be right back with that and get that big pot on the stove and get started. All right, we're back. Let me just fix the camera here to the, because you want to see the pot. You don't want to see me. The pot is more important, right? Okay, so remember I mentioned that we're dealing with the kids today, right? And we know that children usually love spaghetti sauce. The good thing is that these plum tomatoes are actually a part of Dr. Sebi's nutritional guide, right? And you can make some spelt noodles, or you can buy the spelt noodles in the store. They have like a lot of that kind of stuff, so you don't really need to make it. But one of these days I'm going to show you how to make the spelt noodles. Anyway, we got two knives here. Big people knife and little people knife, right? And just to show you that these tomatoes can slice with the regular, the ones that you use at the table, the regular knife and fork. If your child maybe is too young and they can't really manage the proper knife, right? You know, you see that it can work, right? And you let them help you, because children love to help. And they want to be able to help you in the kitchen. When you cook the food with them, then they eat it better. You know, they enjoy eating it more when you say that we're cooking together, right? You see, that works, right? So you use the little people knife, right? So you chop all of these tomatoes up, and oh, let me just finish this quickly. It's easier, as you should actually chop it on the chopping board, little people or big people, but you know, this is the last one, and I just wanted to show you that it could happen, how you could use the regular table knife to cut up the tomatoes, right? You don't have to use the sharp knife, and so they can help you, right? And I've chopped up my onions here, as you can see, right? And my pot is hot. I've already put about 4 tablespoons of oil in here. I'm not going to use it all right now because I need to use it after, because there's 2 segments to this. I'm going to use about half of it, right? And this is hot right now. My pot's hot. The oil, grapeseed oil. I didn't remember. Grapeseed oil, we got to remember to tell you that that's what we need to use, right? Grapeseed oil, no soybean oil, no, no, no. All right, and then we're going to put the onions in. Hear that sizzling? Now we're going to fry up our onions till most of it is our regular word, translucent. And then we're going to put half of the seasoning in there. I like to mix it all up. That would be oregano, sea salt, onion powder. That's all. Oregano, sea salt, onion powder. And I'm going to put half of it in here now. And the other half I'm going to use when I deal with the tomato paste later. So we're going to mix up the seasoning. I'll be right back and put the tomatoes in. Alright, now we're going to, after about 5 minutes of frying the onions up, we're going to put the tomatoes in now. Mix it up as you go along. Pour some in, mix it up, because you don't want to get all of the onions on the bottom and then all of the tomatoes on top, right? And this is kind of a lengthy process, so you don't want to be, this is what I talk about when I mention to you about preparing ahead of time. You don't really want, I'd recommend that you make the tomato sauce on a day that you don't really need it. Like you make something else for dinner, because the tomato sauce takes a little bit of time. It takes maybe about an hour and a half to prepare. And what I do is that after I make it, I put them in different containers and put them in the freezer, and maybe put one in the fridge for like if I'm gonna make my tomato sauce tomorrow. One container in the fridge, and I put the rest of them in the freezer for a later date. So with that, I'm gonna put my thyme in. You can either put the, oh, you know what, if it's really fresh thyme, I like to tear off some of the the thyme, right? And then the other bit, if it's fresh thyme, you can just take a tie and tie it like this, right? You tie it, take one piece of the fresh thyme. If it's fresh, it'll happen. If it's thyme that you've had in the fridge for a while, it probably won't work. It'll break up into pieces. But this is fresh thyme that I've only just bought like yesterday. So you just tie it up so that it doesn't spread everywhere, like all over the pot, you know? Because then you got to take them out, the little pieces of thyme sticks. You got to take them out like before you blend it, because you're going to have to blend it afterwards. So, oh, you know what? Let's just do this properly, right? Because the pot is hot and I don't want to burn myself. And you want to make sure that if your little one's helping you, that you do it the right way, so that they see, you know, how you're supposed to do it, or how you're supposed to be protecting yourself, right? Okay, so we got that in there, and we stir it up, and we put our bay leaves in. Okay. Oh, I forgot the one piece. A bay leaf. And a little tiny bit of spring water. Just a little tiny bit to get it started. There we go. Stir them up a little tiny bit, not too much, because the tomatoes are going to spring a whole truckload of water, but we just want to get it started. And we cover them up, and we get that party started, and we'll be back maybe in about a half hour to show you what everything looks like, because it's going to take about an hour and a half to prepare every single thing. And so after an hour, we'll probably be finished this. We'll blend the tomatoes. We'll blend all of these tomatoes in there. Then we're going to add this separately, the tomato paste. We're going to add it separately with some more seasoning. Then put the tomatoes back in the pot, stir it up, let it simmer down, and then we'll be ready. Right? All right, so we'll see you in a bit. All right, so it's been about 20 minutes now. Let's take a look and see what's going on. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, nice. So we're gonna let it bubble for a few more minutes. Then we're gonna let it cool and put it in the blender. Let it cool a little bit. We don't want to put it in the blender like this, right? Might cause a destruction. All right, so we're gonna wait for another 5 minutes, because this is about good. It's pretty soft. Just a FYI, like when you're making your tomato paste and stuff like that, you do the same, pretty well the same thing, but we take out all of these things and we strain it. We almost strain the, and we don't add any water, absolutely no water at all, right? And we strain it and take out all the seeds and the skin and all of that stuff. But anyway, just letting you know, we're not dealing with tomato paste today. We're dealing with the spaghetti sauce. Tomato sauce, I should say. All right. Okay, so in another 5 minutes, we're going to take it off the stove, let it cool for a little bit, and take out all of these things like the thyme and the bay leaves, put them aside, and then put everything in the blender, and blend it up until it's smooth. Alright, so we'll see you in a bit when we got the blender thing going on. Alright, so we're back. And we put the last 2 teaspoons of oil in our pot again. We've blended our tomatoes. Let's take a quick look here. It could actually be served just like this, to be honest with you. Alright, but we want to give it a little bit more flavor. See, here we go. And we want to put it back on the stove so that it can get a little bit thicker. Alright, but before we do that, I put the oil in the pot, but I didn't turn the stove on because usually this tomato sauce, tomato paste I should say, what happens is that when you put it in the pot, you should put it in the pot when the pot is cooled. You don't want to put it when it's really hot because it'll pop right up at you. I'm not sure the reason why that happens, but it just pops right back up at you. But right now the pot's pretty cool. Oh, kind of cool. But at least it's not going to give me a pop, snap, crackle, pop thing right now. Right? We don't want that. We don't want to get damaged while we're doing our thing. And then we're going to slowly turn the heat back up. The tomato paste is pretty, it takes a long time to prepare, to be honest with you. It takes quite a while. I'm going to turn the stove back on now. It takes quite a while to prepare. You can, you can get the tomato paste in the store if you want. I think you can get the one that just has tomatoes and I think the one in the tube or something might have just tomatoes and not too much preservative in it or whatever. And you know what I always say, sometimes when it comes down to the last of it, it's still better than a bag of Doritos. Right? But, or you don't even have to put any of this tomato paste in it. You can just put it back in the pot and let it boil for maybe another half hour to 45 minutes. Let it get thick and that's your story. Right? You can just leave it like that. Alright. So now I'm going to pour my tomatoes in from the blender. Alright. Here we go. I'm going to stir it up and then I'm going to let it cook for maybe another, as I said, 20 or 30 minutes. Cover it up, turn it down, let it simmer. Make sure you stir it up. Oh, and the rest of the seasoning, very important. When I think of turn it down or it'll snap, crackle, pop on you. When I think of where I'm coming from, looking back at where the journey began, I have to say that I'm strong, I'm strong. More praises to the Most High One. Making Italian food and singing a reggae song. That's me. Alright, so now we're going to cover it up and let it boil for maybe another 20 more minutes, okay? And we'll see you in a bit. Alright, we're back. And I think our spaghetti sauce is completed. There we go. And we want to make it cool before we put them in the freezer and stuff, right? So what we'll do is that I bought these little containers here to fill it up, and this is for later. You know, put them in the freezer. Preparation, I keep stressing that preparation is so important. You make this spaghetti sauce, all you got to do is boil the spaghetti and pour it on it. Or what I like to do is stir fry some vegetables, boil spaghetti, put it in it, and then pour this over it too. You know, and you put them in little partitions and you put them in the freezer. So it looks like this one didn't come out to be that much. I've got 2 of these big bowls, but I'm going to keep one of these in the fridge because I think I'm going to make some spaghetti tomorrow. Make some spaghetti tomorrow and put the other ones in the freezer. But these are pretty big containers anyway, right? 5 pounds of spaghetti, 5 pounds of tomatoes. And as I said, you don't even have to put any tomato paste in it, to be honest with you, because it does take a while for the tomato paste to prepare. But you know what? Good food sometimes takes time. You prepare it ahead of time, and then when you're ready for it, you don't have to spend that much time dealing with it. And what you do, if you wanted to use Irish moss to make it even thicker, or to make it just as thick as about this, right? Or even a little bit thicker. Yeah, it would be a little thicker than this. What you do is that after you blend the tomatoes, then you put the tomatoes back in the pot, and you put about, oops, you know what I'm making here? And I wasn't paying attention. I'm making some sea moss. I'm making some sea moss here, and when you're not paying attention to the sea moss, that's what happens to it. It boils right over. But anyway, as I was saying, sorry guys. Oh boy. Yeah, so what happens is, what was I saying? Yeah, after you blend it and you put the tomatoes back in the pot, and then you put the sea moss in with it and you stir that up. That's the sea moss that's already made, the stuff that you'd have in the fridge for, you know, for your recipes, for your gravies or whatever, right? You'd put maybe around 4 or 5 tablespoons of that in your sauce. Stir that up, let it simmer for the 20 minutes, and then you're gone clear. Okay. All right, so we're all done. We're gonna wash this pot up and go sit back and relax. All right. The journey continues. When I think of where I'm coming from, and I think of where the journey begun, I have to say that I'm strong, I'm strong. Peace, guys. Next time.